There are three different kinds of rocks that we're learning about: sedimentary, metamorphic, and igneous. Today we're going to talk specifically about the sedimentary rocks. Let's first talk about how they're formed. So sedimentary rocks are created through the process where weathered rocks and other things get washed away and deposited somewhere. Then they are compacted, that means pushed and pushed together with pressure, and they're cemented together. So they get pressed so much that they actually kind of get cemented or glued together. And that is actually what makes our sedimentary rocks. And you can see in the process picture, it says eroded sediments get moved into the water. Over time, more and more layers are dropping on each other. Those layers are slowly getting heavier and heavier as they drop on top of the other ones, until finally there's so much that they're compacting and cementing it together. So here's a nice little illustration that a student made. You can see the first is weathering. After something is weathered, it erodes. That means it moves somewhere. Then it is deposited. That means it's dropped somewhere for a while to sit around. And then as that happens, more and more layers get dropped on top of that, and it compacts and cements together, finally creating a rock. This example would be creating sandstone. So there are a couple of special features about sedimentary rocks. They are the only rock that can have fossils in them, and they're the only rock that will have actual layers in them. So fossils are actually when an organism or something that was once living is buried under lots of sediments, and over time those sediments get compacted together, and it leaves an indentation or an imprint of whatever that organism was. So here's a great example of limestone and shale that both have become fossilized. One is a fossilized shell, while the other is a fossilized plant. It looks a little bit like a fern. The other special feature is layers. Sometimes there are very visible layers because, again, we talked about how the sediment moves and it starts layering on each other, and then it gets cemented. So over many, many years or millions of years, you'll see the soil changes and it layers on each other and gets compacted and creates a layer of sediments that creates a rock. So although the Grand Canyon has lots of different kinds of rocks in it, the most visible thing in the Grand Canyon is our sedimentary layers. You can notice how that steep sides of the Grand Canyon have lots of different stripes. So those are actually layers of sediments that over millions of years got compacted and cemented together, with the oldest layer being on the bottom where it was laid down first, and then more and more laid down on top of it. So the newest rock would be laid down on the top. So here's some examples of some sedimentary rocks. I want you to get with your group or a partner, and I want you to talk about what clues do you see that make you think this might be a sedimentary rock. So take a minute, look at each picture, and find out what clue you see that makes you think, this is a sedimentary rock.